to bring up our live chat page and then mute it. This is all the stuff that we normally do, which you guys don't see. So just bear with us. Yeah, we are.
No problem.
We are live. So let me just kickstart this chat.
Hey, Gary.
Yeah.
Gary, I'm about to drop that link you sent me on Facebook so people can join the message or join the chat group. Or just watch.
No. They have to join through YouTube, which is what I'm just setting up right now.
Okay, make sure you just send me that link, and then I will.
If you're on our YouTube channel,
what?
It's on our YouTube channel. Anybody who is connected to our YouTube channel, we've lost a lot of people. We've only got one person on just at the moment, but that'll pick up pretty quick.
That's right. I'm going to send that link to Gil now through the chat.
Okay. He's sending the link. Jeremy's going to send you the link right now. We're live, and we will jump across to you guys in just a moment.
Okay.
So let's see when people start talking.
Done.
Oh, this has been a nightmare start, this one, which only adds to the intrigue of the whole thing that we're going to be talking about.
That's what it seems like. This happens sometimes a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of people, their minds get scrambled too before and afterwards. I've had that happen before, where people come in and they disassociate sometimes with actually reality. When they leave, they have a hard time grasping things. Sometimes it's weird.
Yeah. Hang on, just do that. Double check. Yeah, we're up and running there. That's good. We're just checking oh, that's not good. I'll stay clear of that. So I'm just waiting for a couple of people to come in. We've got 3 people in watching at the moment, so hopefully it'll pick up.
Well, I think Kat's in here watching now.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
Something just came up and said something about a password. It jumped. Oh, everything's jumping. All right, we're back. I think we're normal. All right.
Okay, so for everybody watching, we are going to be doing a live cross, and it's been an extremely interesting setup because they've got lots of things going on over there, and anybody that does paranormal investigation will know that everything never goes according to plan, and that is exactly what's happening tonight as well. So we'll jump over in just a minute. What was that?
I said hi to Cats. Hi, James.
Hey, James, how are you?
Hey, James, so I'm guessing the timing worked out perfect for you?
Anyway, what I'll do, I'll just jump straight into the title, and then we will get straight into it, okay? So there's no point messing around with this one, so... Guys... Okay, we are now live, and we have the chat up and running, and we are going to jump straight over to the Demon House. So here we go. We are now live, and we've caught him while he was about to have a drink, I think.
Got me when I was drinking.
So how are you, mate? Oh, that's another thing I didn't actually do. I've got to set that up as well. Well, that'll keep going in a sec. Yeah, so do you want to tell us a little bit about where you are and a little bit of the history and a little bit of what's going on?
Okay, sounds good. If I start talking, guys, too much, Gil will attest. I can start talking because there's just so much history here. I'm actually and on it's the house was converted into a duplex, so I'm actually on one of my renter side. we had converted into a 1920s theme. Out there, there was a local gangster that lived here in the 1920s, and there was a really crazy murder mystery that had taken place by him. The house was built originally in 1771, before we were even a country. It's surrounded by mysterious deaths, suicide, murders, falling down the stairs, a little bit of everything, and it's an amazing story. We moved in here in 2006, and we had no idea what was waiting for us.
Do you want to tell the guys about some of the things that we were talking about earlier on? Because there's a lot of stuff that goes on there which they would love to hear about.
Sure. Just trying to figure a good point to start off with. Like I said, there's so much stuff. One of the things when we moved in, we noticed like little things were happening, but we didn't think it was paranormal. And my mind, I thought it might have been someone who might have lived here, and they had passed away. So I went down to the town hall, and I became friends with one of the persons that lived at the that worked at the city hall, and I asked her if she could trace the history of the house, and she said, "Well, that should be no problem." She said, "It's going to be $1 a copy," and she goes, "I'll start with you and I'll work my way down." So I said, "Okay." Well, this is the original list she had made of just the people that lived here.
Holy.
So she started me, and she started working down, guys. So she got halfway down, and she stopped, and she reached into her neck, and she pulled out her cross, and she says, "Is there something you're not telling me about your house?" She said, "We haven't even got out of the 20th century." And she goes, "A lot of people have owned your house." And she goes, "I've never seen something like this before." So, it's kind of hard to tell somebody like, "Hey, look, you know what? I think my house is haunted." So I told her I was waiting for a response like, "Get out of the Enfield town hall. You're a nut job," But she's like, "Oh my God." She goes, "That makes sense." So she says, "Here's what I'm going to do." She goes, "I'm going to write down on a piece of paper. This is the original copy." And she goes, "And I'm going to look everybody up." And she goes, "I'll let you know what I find." So she got all the way down to 1846. And she says, "I'm having a difficult period after that because the measurement and the things get a little bit foggy. They start using an old method called rods." And she goes, "I never heard of that measurement before, called rods." So she said, "That's a good starting point up to 1846. So I told her, thank her, and we started looking at things. And so she said, "I'm going to keep looking into it for you." Now, as that happened, at the time my wife was 7 months pregnant. And before we even bought the house, there was warning signs that we should have known, but we weren't looking for paranormal. We were just looking to get a house because the real estate market was sky high. So we came back a couple times and looked at the house because we knew the people who were selling it. And so we met here, and I had my vehicle up in the driveway, and the car was out in the front. So my wife was 7 months pregnant. She goes, "You know what? I'm going to go back and lock the door." So she came back and made sure the doors are locked. And as she was going down the stairs, I was already by my vehicle, and I hear her scream, "Jay, help me." I turned around. I see her arms go flying behind her, and it looked like somebody came up behind her and hit her, and she started to fall down the stairs. I'm running over, and I'm trying to get to her because I'm like, oh my goodness, she has twins. And just before she fell, her arm came out and she rolled on her arm, and that's what protected the babies. If she fell on her stomach anywhere like that, we might have not had the twins today. And I thought it was really strange. I kept looking at the house thinking who was inside, but I didn't have enough time. I rushed to the hospital, and that was our very first encounter with what was laying in wait for us inside the home. And as the babies were born, this thing started happening. The dogs started barking in corners. They were scratching on the walls. It took off pretty quick in the spring and the summer of 2007. And so we were just trying to maintain some type of normalcy. So we decided to try to build like a dry river bed in front of the house to give the house some landscaping. And I was mentioning this last night. As we were doing that, we had the newborns. They were on the porch. We had the baby monitors there. The doors were open. And we were just, we had a bunch of rocks. We were making it look like a river. And out of nowhere, we hear, "Hey, did you buy this house?" And we looked up, and there was an old man, and he was standing there, and he had a cane. And he looked about 87, 89 years old. And I thought he wanted to welcome us to the neighborhood. He's like, "Did you buy the house?" I said, "Yes, we did." And his next words were like, "You should never have bought this house. This house is evil. You need to get out as fast as you can." And it took me a step back. My wife was shocked. And I'm like, "Well, why would you say that?" And he proceeded to tell a story of when he was a little boy. He would walk by the house to go down to a school. And he would see this little boy up in the middle window where it's boarded off, and that's where the wall separates. And what had happened was the little boy would wave to him like this, and he would wave back. And so after a few months going by, he said he wanted to have a playmate. So he beckoned the boy down. And when he did that, he said the little boy's face changed into this hideous creature. He dropped his school books, ran home, and his father was really old school. He was about to pull off his belt, and he was going to start smacking him because he thought he wanted to play hooky. And he started yelling, "Monsters, monsters." And his grandfather was there. He goes, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "At the White House at the end of Prospect Street." He goes, "I saw a monster." And he's like, whoa, wait a minute. Then his grandfather started telling them a story that when he was a little boy, that when he heard a story of a little boy running out of the house screaming, and as he got into the middle road, a horse and buggy came and hit him. And the father went out and picked up the boy's body, brought him in, and a few days later, the boy died. So I was like, "Would you happen to know, I know it's a long time ago, would you happen to know the man's name?" He says, "I believe it begins with a P. It was like Piers, Parsons, something with Par." So I said, "Okay." And we're talking, but then all of a sudden, we didn't hear anything. So we looked up. The old man was gone. And we looked up and down the street, and Elka's like, "Where did he go?" I said, "Well, maybe he's our next door neighbor." I said, "Because someone like that with a cane is not going to be doing any sprints. He's not going to be running." We never saw him ever again. We never saw him walk in the street. So I had so many questions to ask him. He was gone. So while that took place, like I was saying, in the papers, I went to Colleen and I said, "Hey," I said, "while you're doing your investigation," I said, I told her a story about the old man. I said, "If you can find anybody by the name of P word in the old days, Peters, Parsons, Parcel, whatever," I get a call at my office. And she says, "You're not going to believe this." In 1851, on September 22nd, actually, let me go back. On May 22nd, 1851, a lady by the name of Caroline Abbey sells the house to a guy by the name of, I believe his first name, guys, I'm going to mess this up, Shalbul Parsons. And I'm like, oh my God, that's what the guy mentioned, Parsons. And here's what's interesting, is he buys it in May of 1851. On September 22nd, he sells it to a gentleman by the name of William Tate. So this fits the MO of this guy. He only has it for a few months and he gets rid of it. But you see the horror story starts. I mean, this is like, it since I've been here, it's been twists and turns. And the entity that was in here, we found out it was not nice. We don't know what it was. Some people think it might have been a demon. Some people might think it was an alien. Some people thought it was an entity. So that started out on a quest to get rid of this entity because it was terrifying my dogs. It kicked my dogs. It threw one of them down the stairs. It was messing with my wife. It was just a horrific time. And so we decided, you know what? The first thing we're going to do is what the old timers would do. We're going to call up the local church and ask for a house blessing. As we did that, I had met the priest on the road, and I said, Father, I said, of course, we're not going to admit ourselves because we're men. We're not going to say, hey, there's a monster in my house. So I said, Father, I said, my wife thinks there's something in the house. He's like, what? A squirrel, a chipmunk, a bird? I said, no. I said, a ghost. And he's like, he looked at me like I had to have my head examined. And he goes, what? I said, he goes, I'm gonna assure you, because there are no such things as ghosts or demons. He says, it's all fictional and Hollywood. He goes, I will prove it to you. So he comes in, and his name was, he introduced himself as Father John, and he meets Elka, and he goes through, he puts his robe on, and he goes through and sprays holy water everywhere, and he goes upstairs and comes down. He goes, CJ, nothing here. I said, but Father, we have to go on the renter side. So he's like, no problem. So he comes over on the renter side, and I had table saw set up. It was under construction. I was using it. And he goes, oh, I love the smell of fresh construction, Jay. He goes, it looks beautiful in here. So he goes down, he goes through the whole thing. Then he goes upstairs, and he says, see, nothing here. Well, at the time, I had the attic door still in place. I had removed it because I had made a couple of rooms in the attic. And he said, see, it's all Hollywood. I said, Father, I said, there's one more room. That's the attic. No problem. He takes 3 steps up, and he freezes. Now, he's staring at something, and it just terrified him. And what happened was, he goes to take one more step, and he freezes. He backs down, takes his holy water, and he sprays it. He never turned around. He backed down, and he got to the door. He backed out. He slammed the door. He put the hasp on it. He locked it with a padlock. He ran all the way through the upstairs, all the way down the stairs. I'm trying to chase this guy. This guy was at the time in his 60s. I'm like, Father, where are you going? He gets 1 foot inside the house, 1 foot out the door. His face was terrified. He's like, ignore it, it will go away. He says, don't feed into it. And he took off. I never saw the priest again. He was gone. I went next door. Elka's like, hey, I made tea. I got things ready for the priest. I said, he's gone. I said, I don't think he's ever coming back. She said, but there's nothing here. I said, whatever he saw scared him so bad that I don't think he's ever going to come back. So she's like, what is going on? And as that's happening, the babies were still in the hospital. They were born premature. Elka had to be rushed to the hospital. Things were just going wrong. And we sat down, we started talking about things. And I said, Elka, I really think there's some kind of ghost or something in the house. And she says, thank God you're not the only one. She goes, when you go to work every day, she goes, I don't mean it in a bad way, but I wish you were home. She goes, I keep seeing somebody watching me when I'm doing dishes, when I'm moving around. And she says, I think I'm going crazy. So that started us on a journey of trying to find a paranormal team, because back then it wasn't like flip this old house. It was, you had the internet, but there wasn't a lot of teams. So we started out with a local team across the river. And they said, yeah, we can help. You can come help. And at the time, my sister was alive. And well, they come out and they split up. The women went in the living room, and there were psychics and mediums. And the guys who came over, 2 of them were college police officers. And all of a sudden, they start yelling at each other. Hey, look at this, come here. No, you come here, and everything. Well, once they got themselves composed, they were in the living room, and I had this big plant. It was a banana plant, and in front of 8 people, they watched the plant slide across the floor, and they could not believe it. While that was happening, we were in our dining room, and my wife had this little party light candle thing, but it looked like a bird cage. And when you walked with the way the floor was, it would shift. But what made it different was this time it was bouncing up and down, like something had its hands and was going like this and trying to take it off. Well, when they did that, they started writing things down. They were writing things down. They looked at each other. They had this weird look on their face. And they're like, you know what? We have enough evidence. We don't have to prove it's haunted. We'll be in contact. And after that, they never came back. They always had some type of excuse. Well, we have to be on duty at the college. We have to do this and that. So we went and we got another paranormal guy, and he was local. He came in, same thing. It terrorized them. And with this guy, what was weird is we didn't know what was going on at the time because we didn't have the history. He got really confused. At first, he's like, is it haunted? I don't know. He goes, I don't even know my own name. He goes, I'm having difficulty with my speech, difficulty thinking. He says, I don't know what to do. So when we saw that, we're like, well, maybe this guy's not the guy we need in the house, because we didn't know at the time that entities could really could do this.
That's one of the things they can do. They can really mess with your train of thought just to stuff things up. And before we go any further, I just want to let everybody know in the chat that if you have any questions, let us know in the chat room and we will put them forward and then he can answer them. I've just put it up in chat and I said cat, so we're not putting questions in the chat. But what we were talking earlier, you mentioned a certain person that refused to even enter the house, and I think the guys would be really interested in hearing that story.
Yes, I was working up there, but what I was saying is we were working up. Each person we would get in had more and more skill level. So we had phone calls out. We had phone calls out to John Zaffis. We had phone calls out to everybody at the time. It was who's who. So John had called us back and he said, well, what's going on? And we told him, he goes, you know what? Sounds like a ghost. You know what? Just, do a house blessing. And if you need me, call me back. So in the process, the team that what we were trying to get in was on other calls. So they sent over his partner, and his name was Orlando. And the other gentleman, his name was Joe. And every time Joe was trying to come out, something would happen. So finally, when Joe gets out, he goes, I hear all these stories of levitation, scratches. He goes, it's got my team terrified. He goes, I want to know what's going on. So, of course, when he was here that day, absolutely nothing happened. It was like, boom. And Joe's like, I don't get it. So Joe, we went outside and Joe says, I'm going to come back. He goes, but I'm going to bring back some heavyweights. He goes, I got something up my sleeve. So when Joe came back, he brought in an ordained minister. He brought in a camera woman. He brought in a person who can channel things. And he says, I have somebody very special on standby. He goes, if this is really real, he goes, this person's going to help. So while they were here, Joe was trying to challenge this thing and trying to bring it out. Well, he got the response. It had picked up his camera person right in front of the ordained minister in my baby's nursery. It's something, they caught something in the crib come spiraling out, and they heard it on camera. It came out, it picked up the camera lady, threw her 6 to 8 feet down the hall, and you heard smash. We all ran upstairs. They saw her camera smashed across the hall. Orlando said, you got to make the call. And went downstairs. They grabbed the phone. They put it on speaker. And on the other end was a sweet little old lady. Said, Joe, Orlando, what's going on? And then we heard Lorraine, my sweet friend. And I'm like, Lorraine? And he says, this is Lorraine Warren. And she said, what's going on? And he said, well, we witnessed levitation. We got scratched. One of our guys he was biting his arm to the point he was bleeding. And they told her, and she says, Joe, I've known you for all these years. What? You're leaving something out. And Orlando's like, you have to tell her. She needs to know. He said, well, Lorraine, he says, our camera woman got picked up like a rag doll and thrown all the way down, hit the door jamb. There was silence. Lorraine said, I'm sorry. She goes, I cannot put one foot in that house. She goes, I'm so sorry. I cannot come out to the house. She goes, give the homeowners my personal number. Have them call me anytime. I will help them. But she goes, God, and they begged her. They're like, Lorraine, please. They said, this is very rare. We're up against something that we've maybe seen not even once. She goes, we really need you. She goes, I'm sorry. She goes, I cannot come out to the house. She goes, I cannot put one foot in that house. She goes, I will do everything I can do remotely, but she goes, I cannot get involved. She goes, you know what I'm trying to say to you guys? So they were stunned. They could not believe that their ace in the hole, Lorraine, would not come out. Now, Ed had already passed away by a couple of years, so they talked with her and they had other things. And as we look back, and I'm looking at some of the old notes, and I remember I was looking at a text message from one of the guys, Orlando, and he had texted me, and I said, what does Lorraine really think is in the house? And he said, a demon, a very powerful demon. He goes, I'm having a meeting with Tony. And he said, we're going to try to get you some help, Jay. And that was the last time I ever heard, because Orlando, I found out to this day from Dan, he said when he came over, he goes, to this day, he goes, Orlando is still messed up about your house. He goes, his mind is not where it is and he's scared. I said, are you serious? He goes, no, really. He goes, I'm not even playing. He goes, I wanted him to come out to your house with me. And Dan said he won't. He goes, I even wanted him to do something remotely from a hotel room. He says he won't. So when we heard this, that Lorraine did not want to come out, we were scared. I was like, you know what? What's in the house that Lorraine doesn't want to come out? She goes, we got to get out. And we tried 3 times to move out. And every time we did, something awful stopped us in our tracks, where we had to regroup, refocus, and rebuild to come up to get to a point where we could move again. And when we wanted to, it stopped us again. So the last time it stopped us in 2018, and we're like, we got to get out of here. And then COVID hit. Our girls entered high school, so we decided, you know what, we got to stay. And what was happening is we could not keep renters. We would go through a realtor. They would sign a year lease. The realtor, when they asked them, my realtor would say, yes, the house has a history, but I've been here. No one's got eaten. Nobody's got killed. She goes, it's just story. She goes, my husband's worked with Jay now. She goes, nothing happened to him. Within 6 months, they would be begging to get out of the lease, or they would stay the whole year. And they would stay. They wouldn't talk about anything. And when that year lease was up, they would be out. And so our last renters, they made it. I mean, this was a football game. No pun intended, but it was like they moved in, and they had in their minds they were going to scam us. They heard about our house. They saw some of the TV shows. But here's how intelligent, and not giving this any credit, but this is how intelligent this entity is. It knew these people were coming in to scam us, and it brought them in, like, come on in, rent a place. And when they started to try to scam us and they tried to do something against us, the entity also, in one way, it maybe like use us as a toy, because it also wants to protect us. Their minds got so scrambled and their whole plan unfolded. Everything that they were hiding got exposed. I mean, and law enforcement got involved. They were terrified, and they left, and we never heard from them again. And they were like, and Elka's like, you think they were really that messed up, or you think that the house got inside their head? I said, I think it's a little bit of both. I said, they came in, they thought they were going to say the house was haunted. They thought they were going to say all this and that. They thought they could be on TV. They thought they could all do this and that. But the house started working on their minds, and it started making them second guess themselves and started tripping them. So they were only here for 3 months. By the time they left, they were not the same people that they were when they moved in. The first thing that happened was they ended up breaking up. They broke up, I heard. She said she was pregnant with twins. that was a lie. She ended up losing her job, find out that she ended up being a huge drug dealer. I mean, it was just crazy. We found a paper right in front of the porch that had his list of probation. It was really weird how this stuff just started unfolding. So when they left, we were like, you know what? The house was destroyed again. I said, I just cannot keep going, repairing the place, fixing it up. I said, so one of the paranormal investigators who was here in the early days, she was an apprentice to Robert Baker, and he was really good. And Bob had retired. This was the last house he was involved in. And so Rose came up here and she gave us the idea. She goes, you guys can't rent this out no more. She goes, why don't you turn it into something paranormal? She goes, like an Airbnb, do it something. She goes, people want to know. She goes, I get questions all the time. What's going on at the Enfield house? So we spent the winter and we transformed it into a 1920s apartment. And we've had, like I said, some of the best of the best. We had Bishop Robert McKenna, who came in. And as a treat for you guys, there's something came on the screen, guys. It said to deactivate your account.
That'd be about it.
Yeah. Sorry about that, guys.
So no, it's all good. It's all good here. Look, with what's happening and where you guys are, I would be expecting all kinds of weird things happening now. Everybody knows we had some weird stuff just trying to get everything set up, and you guys have had all sorts of things going on there. So it only adds to the intrigue of the location.
So Gary, it seems like we've got somewhere to visit next time we're over there.
Oh yes, he's already made that offer, haven't you?
I said to you guys come on over. I love Australia. I always want to get over there, and you guys are open invitation. And what I wanted to show you guys, I never thought about this before, but when Bishop McKenna came out and he was in retirement, and Bob called him up and said, Bishop, I need you out to this house. And he said, Bob, I just retired. And Bob said, Bishop, there's little babies involved, there's little toddlers involved. And he goes, well, Bob, I guess one more time. He goes, it can't hurt, right? So he goes, let's go. Well, Bob was 15 minutes away from picking up the bishop. He called us up to see if we were home. 5 minutes later, it goes by. Bob had called us and said, you're not going to believe what just happened. He goes, the bishop's secretary had written on a piece of paper that the bishop had just got struck with a mouth infection and could not speak. And the bishop wrote on a piece of paper not to tell anybody when we're going to come in case of what just happened came from this house. So when he did come up, it was 3 months later, he came up, he blessed the whole entire house. And on our dining room, he had this exact bottle, guys, right here. This was Bishop McKenna's personal bottle of holy water. And he actually had the holy water as he's blessing. This is my cross I had on at the time. He wanted to bless all the stuff. So he had a little black book and he was praying. And he would take a page, he would put the holy water down, turn the page. Well, he goes to get the holy water, and the holy water bottle is gone. Now, there's the whole dining room table filled with paranormal investigators, a bishop, us. Nobody saw it disappear. So Bob Baker started picking everything up, flowers, everything. He was just picking everything because the bishop was like, "Where's my holy water?" As he picked up his briefcase, underneath the holy water was laying down. And nobody saw it. It dematerialized in front of the whole team and was put underneath there to play with the bishop. So when the bishop found it, he looked in the corner and he looked and he says, I am not done with you little buggers yet. He goes, we've just begun. So he went through the whole house and he said to us in the end, he's like, there's two things that are going to happen. The one we want to happen is that we did our job and it goes away. The other thing, he says, we always don't win, guys. And he didn't want to scare Elko, but he told me later on what really happens to exorcists at battle. But he said it in a nice version. He goes, what can happen is they'll go away, and where they go, he goes, once the time is ready, they'll come back. But when they come back, they bring friends. and they come back nastier. He goes, and we don't want that. So when he left, the house felt fine for almost 2 weeks. And then the girls started talking about spooky. They started talking about things. Things started happening at the house. And we were right back into the fix. So Bob scratched his head. He goes, I can't get Father Bailey back at the house. He won't come back out. Okay. Bishop McKenna, he's completely retired. He said, you know what? He goes, let's take this as a different approach. He goes, I have a lot of high-end television shows coming to my door. I always turn them away. He goes, I don't like it. But he said, somebody out there is going to know how to handle this. So he said, I encourage you to do as many or as few shows as possible to get the name out there. So we did our first show on Animal Planet. A few years later, we did, John Zaffis wanted to get involved, and John's a sweet guy. Bob said, you can come out, but he said, the only way I can come out, he goes, I'm under contract with a television show. So he's let me talk with the family. So John came out, and John had got messed with at the house. John has some of his own personal stories. And the last show we did, Bob called us up. He goes, they resurrected the old TV show called A Haunting on Discovery. So they wouldn't come out to the house. They said, listen, we don't go on location like that. We don't even film on location because something happened. So they actually got us. I'll tell you something I never told anybody. So you guys getting some inside stuff. Ooh. They had rented a hotel room in East Hartford, which was 25 minutes away. And they said the reason why we do that is sometimes paranormal follows people, and we don't want that to happen. We've had camera people messed up in the past. So the guy who was a producer, he was a well-known producer also. So I'm sitting in a big room. They have camera guys everywhere. And I'm sitting like I'm talking to you, but I'm looking out of my visions, right? And I see this camera guy. He has his face, and he's like, look. And I'm like, so I finally said, is everything okay with me? They're like, no, keep talking. Now the producer, all of a sudden he jumps up, his paper goes in the air, and he says a few choice words, or was like, what the, and I'm like, what's going on? He said, behind you, what you didn't know is, he said, because we need some color contrast. He said, we had taken a chair and we had put this big plant on the chair. He said the camera guy who started motioning me that the plant started to move. And as the plant's moving, he's pointing at me. And at first I thought it was just maybe the air conditioner. But he goes, as I'm trying to cue you in about the plant, because I'm thinking to myself, okay, something's not right. He goes, the plant just flew off that chair. And that's why I jumped. And I looked, and the plant literally flew off the chair by about 8 feet and was laying on the ground. And that's what they saw. So he says, you brought one of your friends. I said, they're not my friends. I said, if you want to keep them, you're more than welcome to do it. So when the show aired, we got a phone call. And it was from a woman who said, my husband has a special gift, and he works with another gentleman. And those two people happen to be Reverend Neil Farley and Jay Dodd. And that guys, I could go in for hours what befell Jay Dodd, the horrors that came after him. But we were able to get the house cleansed for almost 2 years. We had peace. Everybody was happy. Everything was going fine. I got into a severe car accident, and my realtor tried selling the house. Nobody even looked at it. So she sent her husband over to convert it back to a duplex so we could start renting it. And that's when we noticed within 6 months, this renter, she was supposed to be long-term. She promised she was going to be here for more than 5 years. Within 6 months, was begging to break the contract. Finally, we called the town and everybody and said, don't let her break the contract. These people do this all the time. So we made her stay until the contract was up, or she could have left on her own. And so when she left, she took off. I had a phone call already into Bob Baker. He was still into this for me. And he said, don't go next door. He goes, whatever you do not open that door. He goes, this thing could be waiting for you like an ambush. He goes, and it could jump on you. He goes, let me go there. So Bob drove an hour and a half up. I mean, he must have just jumped into his truck, flew all the way up here, opened the door, and he started automatically looking for signs. And sure enough, above all the windows, above all the doors, she had in some kind of black ash, she made the sign of a cross. And he said, she did something. She goes, this is a protection. He goes, she's trying to protect herself from whatever's in the house. So we were on the edge of our seats. And luckily, this one entity, he never came back. But what opened up was the spirits that did not want to leave, and they were here. And that's what we were end up dealing with to this day. And we've had so much that has befallen us. I mean, the things that have happened. I mean, since I've been here, I'll tell you some personal things, because matter of fact, today, guys, would have been my brother's birthday. My brother was an ex-Marine. He was 6 feet 2 inches. He was a big guy. I called him my gentle giant. He didn't believe in religion. He was more like Carl Sagan. He was more into science. He didn't believe any of this. So he had some really bad things happen to him here. And one of the things I'll tell you happened was where we were painting, I had to run back out to get more paint. I said to him, if anything happens, Cliff, I said, just go outside, smoke a cigarette, wait till I come home. He's like, listen, he goes, Jay, he goes, I love hearing your stories. He goes, they're stories. He goes, I never seen a ghost. He goes, I don't believe in that. He goes, like I was taught in the Marines, he goes, when you're dead, the lights go out and that's it. So I came home and he was outside. I never seen this guy shake. He had a cigarette in his hand and his hands were shaking. And I'm like, are you okay? He goes, yeah. He goes, no. He goes, the funny thing is when you left, all the lights started and the whole house started flickering. And he said, first thing I thought about was your crazy stories. Then he goes, I stopped. He goes, you know what? It's psychosomatic. He goes, you're getting in my head. He goes, but he goes, being a man of science, he goes, you know what? He goes, it could be a fluctuation in power. But he never told me what really happened until before he died. I called that year. Actually, I'm going to back up because this gets kind of scary, guys. What entities can do. People don't realize how dangerous entities can be. While I was working in 2008, I had switched jobs and I was running 2 high-rise buildings at the time down in Farmington. And I had became good friends with this attorney, and he was a big ball of laughs. I mean, the guy was a great guy. He had the best parties, everything. And he always invited me to his parties and things. And I said to him, I want to get out of the house. I started telling him ghost stories. He's like, well, I could, he was joking. He goes, I could have papers drawn up and have your wife sign them and we could have you committed to a mental hospital. I'm like, thanks, Mike. I said, you know, this, he goes, no, he goes, but on a serious note, he goes, I don't believe in ghosts. He goes, but if you guys want out, he goes, I'll help you get into a better mortgage with a better rate. He goes, fix up the house as much as you can. He goes, his goal was to try to get us $30,000 to $40,000 cash out to move out of the house. And he worked hard on it. He got, as in the process of doing this, my company, my boss came in, pulled me in my office. He says, Jay, I got to let you go. I'm like, why? I said, there's nothing going. Did I do something wrong? He goes, no. He goes, I have to let you go. He goes, listen, he goes, this is a bad time for everybody. He goes, we lost some contracts. He goes, I got guys working with me for 15, 20 years. I goes, I got to get them a place to be. He goes, I'm sorry. So I got on the road. I called Elka. I said, you're not going to believe it. I just lost the job. She goes, right in the middle, guys, of refinancing. So I called Mike. He goes, let me work on it. He said, guys, good news and bad news. He goes, good news, I'll get you into a nice, better mortgage. Bad news, there's no cash out. So that was the first time we couldn't move out. Now, as this happened, now this is in 2009. 2010 came up. My brother came over for Christmas. Who would know that would be the last time I would ever see my brother alive? I got a phone call back in May, and I got a phone call saying that my brother had passed away. and I was devastated. A week later, Elka's dog she had brought over from Germany was getting older, looked like she had a stroke. We brought her to the vets. My sister had a huge memorial service for him, and who would know that would be the last time I'd be talking to my sister alive. 2 weeks go by, Elka comes home in tears, said, we have to go put Mandy to sleep. I'm getting ready. We're walking out the door and the phone rings and she said, leave it. I said, no, because I always go by my sixth sense. And I said, this is an important phone call. I said, I better take it. She was, Jay, leave it. I said, no, I have to get it. I go over to get the phone. It was my nephew. He was working in Canada and he says, Uncle Jay, you need to sit down. Now, we played always sick jokes on each other. Me and my friends, we played the craziest jokes. So, and I'm like, what's going on? He goes, sit down. I said, Mike, I got to go put the dog to sleep. I said, Uncle is devastated. He goes, no, Uncle Jay, you need to sit down. He goes, Mom's gone. I'm like, what? So in 3 weeks, I lost my brother. They still don't know how he died as far as I know. Elka's dog we had to put to sleep. And then that same day, I get the notice that my sister was passed away. So 2010, I started going back to school. I started going back to college, and I was really having a hard time dealing with everything. So the director of everything said, listen, you can't keep going this pace. He goes, your mind is fried. He goes, you know what? Spend the summer, come in. He goes, play with welding. He goes, we're not gonna charge. He goes, it's a free thing. He goes, we went through a lot. All of a sudden, as that was going on, you think it already got bad. I had gotten a phone call from another attorney, and he says, are you so-and-so, and is your wife so-and-so? I said, yeah. He says, I'm handling the estate of Michael so-and-so. I'm like, come on. I said, did Mike put you up to this? And he said, Jay, this is no joke. He goes, Mike's gone. I'm like, what? I said, I just saw him. He said, I saw him back in September. I said, I was going to go to his Christmas party, but I couldn't make it. He said, no, Jay. He said, Mike died in October. He said he was teaching, he was coaching softball up in Avon, Connecticut. And he said, Mike had a massive heart attack, and that was it. I remember, I'm going to try not to cry I remember I went numb. And I hung up the phone, and Elka's like, what's wrong? And she saw the tears coming down. I said, this is the worst year. I said, I want to erase this year. And she said, what's going on? I remember she said, I stumbled to the chair and I sat down. I said, Mike? I said, I want to help us out. She goes, that funny guy? I said, yeah. I said, he's gone. She started screaming. She said, no way. She goes, no way. She goes, he was a young guy. I said, yeah. I said, he was full of life. I said, yeah. I said, he had a massive heart attack. I said, he's gone. So that year, I got through that year and tried to bounce back, and it was devastating. And we try to put things back together again. We was trying to go forward, and it was just like it didn't seem so real. We got through 2011. I got out of school. I had a really awesome job. I loved it. 2013 came up, and my neighbor, I watched her kids grow up, and we had a big celebration for Labor Day. And this is another thing I learned about this house is you don't make a bad wish in this house at all. You don't say anything bad about anything because it can come true. It's got a good record. So that day I called my neighbor up, and she lived in a gray house. And so I'm like, where's your kids? Where's so-and-so? Where's everybody? And she had her boyfriend, and she said, she goes, John, she goes, he's somewhere, I don't know where. Best thing that could happen is if he dies. She goes, and I jumped up. Her boyfriend jumped. She said, what are you saying? She goes, no, he's always running through the town. He's whatever he's doing. She goes, I can't keep track of him. And her boyfriend was like, you don't wish your son dead. And then she goes, my daughter, she goes, he's probably going to get knocked up by the town of Enfield. And my other son, he's going to be a lost soul. Within 3 days, all of a sudden we went out to see a friend of mine. He owns a pizzeria in West Springfield, Tony, and I wanted to go see him to show my daughters and things like that. And we came home, we pulled in the driveway, and all of a sudden I see these guys, they walk by, they put a hoodie on, and all of a sudden, normally my daughters would run over and give John a hug, everything. He was 18 years old. You heard pow. And I'm like, I know that sound from the military. And I said, it's fireworks, the fireworks. I tried rushing everybody inside the house. And we turned around, and at the time, my 4 or 5 year old kids, they watched a guy that they knew since they were born. They came up, the guys with hoodies put a 40 into his chest and pulled the trigger, and they watched this guy fall down the stairs. He's outside, and he died. So I rushed everybody inside. Just like she said, she wanted her son to die. He died. I'll advance forward. Her daughter, when she was 13 years old, ended up getting pregnant by a guy who was an angel dust dealer, who was 46 years old. Doesn't know who the father was. Now, this was a really weird premonition, and her son was lost for many, many years. He didn't want to leave home. He was afraid of the mom was going to happen to him. Finally, he met a nice girl, and he moved out. Well, all of a sudden, that happened up in September 2000. It was 2014. Today, wow, I didn't realize this. Today was my brother's birthday. I got another phone call from my half-sister, and she says, Jay, I got really bad news. And I'm like, what's that? I said, Dad passed away. She said, no. She goes, your sister Cindy's gone. I was like, what? I lost my whole entire family. So my sister Cindy, they found her, passed away. She died on my brother's birthday. And that was in 2014. So we've taken some severe hits here, and we tried to move out, but whether it be coincidence or what, but we've seen this thing strike, and it's just not limited to the house. So the person that tried helping us, Jay Dodd, his wife almost died. He nearly died at least 3 times. He has an incredible story. If you ever can get him on, he'll tell you what happened to him at the house. So we battled this along with stuff like, black shadows. We've witnessed things levitate, people who came over to help us. I mean, we were going through paranormal teams after paranormal teams. We went through a half dozen to a dozen clergy members. We actually had as a gift the first TV show. What people don't know about is, I maybe told it once or twice. I got a picture, if you guys would like to see. They had brought in a Native American shaman, and he traveled a long ways, and he came in because they wanted to see what was Native American. They never aired him on the show, and he went through the whole entire house. And at the very end, after he got it, he saw something, and whatever he saw had him nervous. And he literally, when we were walking, he looked and he put his hand out and he stopped me. And he said, don't go. And he said, you need to leave. He goes, and he called upon his ancestors, and he had a big clamshell in his hand and his bowl. And what was really neat is he had a real eagle feather, and only Native Americans are allowed to possess an eagle feather in the United States. And he was trying to burn sage, and then he started speaking in his native tongue, because whatever he saw, he did not like. And what he saw, he said, that's when he thought it was a shapeshifter. And he described a shapeshifter as an old shaman that crossed the other side. He said it was somebody who obtained powers where he could shift from a human being to an animal to some type of a creature.
Oh,
and
wow.
He said
You're talking about skinwalkers or Wendigo and things like that now.
Yeah,
that's very interesting.
And that's what he said, because what he saw was this face was twisted, and it wouldn't tell him his face. and it was trying to get near him, and he tried to put his boundaries up. And now that's the second time I heard about the face twisting, because the old man said about the boy's face. So he went through everything. So he said, I'm going to go out. He found a cedar tree. He laid tobacco outside as an offering to his ancestors to kind of try to help us. And he said special prayers, and he left. And he invited me to travel where he was to pursue a spiritual life, going into doing the medicine wheel, going into a sweat lodge, and all kinds of things. Because he looked at me, and and the guy was pretty strong. And he looked at my face, he looked at my cheekbones, he turned my head, and he goes, "You're native." He goes, "You got Indian in you." I mean, that's what we call them, Indians. But he goes, "You're not completely." It's funny. He goes, "You're not completely white." I'm like, "What?" I said, "I'm as white as you're gonna get." And what nobody really knew is that my aunt had talked to my grandmother on my father's side, and there's a story I was telling Gil last night on how one of my ancestors were from England, and during one of the wars, he could not handle the carnage of war, and he went up north, and one of the Native American tribes had taken him in, and he was supposed to have had a family and children, but nobody could prove this because they didn't have all these records back then. And that's when he said that, and then I found that out, nobody knew about my ancestors. And when he said that, I thought that was kind of weird. So many weird coincidences, so many twists and turns, and different teams came in. I mean, it's endless. So guys, if you have questions, please ask me. Otherwise, I'll go on autopilot.
Oh, well, what I thought we might do now is actually, if we can, is get a little bit of a tour of the place. I know it's morning over there, so I thought if you could walk out the front and get a bit of footage of the front of the house, and then walk in and show us around, and you can sort of tell us different things that have happened at different points in the house. So the guys, they're all looking at it and they go, "Wow, this is really cool." They're all gobsmacked and they're just listening. So I thought if we can go to the next step now and show the place to everybody, and then I think questions will start coming at then, and we'll see if we can get the guys to do a little bit of some investigation stuff and find out what they've picked up so far.
That sounds great, guys, and we can do that. And if we have time, I got pictures and things I could even show you guys of weird things that we captured in the house. But you guys want to go on tour?
Let's go.
Sounds good.
If you guys want to start, we can start.
Hey, you guys, what's going on? I'm just gonna flip the camera right here, okay?
Hey, Fernando, how are you, my friend?
Put everything together.
I think his face says it all.
It's been quite an interesting morning. Quite an interesting morning. We set everything up, and we went to bed like around 3, but we had 4 cell phones going.
Hang on a sec. Before you go any further, do you want to start from out the front so people can see the house from the outside?
Huh?
Follow me and Jack. Just let me do that real quick.
Okay, hold on 1 second, you guys.
Yep.
Let's. Oh, this is your phone. Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on 1 second. We're going to. I'll tell my story in a few, but it was very interesting. We're gonna give the tour, take advantage.
This.
That lucky pup just chilling there.
Yeah.
Like headed not a little bit. I kind of feel the same. I haven't had it.
Like I said, if we can start from outside the house, I believe it was in the 1770s when the house was actually built, somewhere around there.
Yes, 1771.
Yeah.
There's a lot of controversy, a lot of mystery around the house. The town doesn't want to recognize it. They don't want to talk about it because some people in the town, they actually lost their jobs because they got involved in the house. And they think that the town is actually hiding something a little bit more sinister.
That's a possibility.
Outside, I'll give you one tribute. We went down to the town hall, it was me and my wife, and I hear there's grants and things that you can get if you have an old historical house. And we have, like I said, we have people going back to the 1846 that lived here. And we went down to the town and we said, hey, we want to, see if there's anything any grants or anything else we can get. The lady said, sure, that would be no problem. We felt a foreman, a gentleman, kind of like in khaki, said, what house are you referring to? And I told him, and he said, you know what? He said to the girl, he goes, I'll handle this. And she goes, are you sure? She goes, this is something I can do. He goes, no. He goes, I want to talk to these people. So he brought us into a private room, and he says he has a vanilla folder, which looked like he had papers in it, but they were blank papers. And he says, your house is an 1881 farmhouse. And now I felt like I was part of the X-Files. I said, no, sir. I said, I have right here papers saying that it's 1771 on the deed, and I have people living, and I can prove it all the way back to 1846. So the town was like, I'm telling you, it's an 1881 farmhouse. That's what we're going to say. And then he said, what is it going to gain you to have an old house? He said, well, there's grants, things like that. We can get recited, and you guys could have our historical house. He gets up and he says, it's 1881 farmhouse. Good day. He turns around. He walks up to a side door, and we were sitting there and we're like, what just happened? So as that happened, I contacted my contact in the city hall, and she goes, that's really strange. So we contacted the Enfield Historical Society, and again, when we called, the gentleman had said, what house is it? He goes, I can help you. I said, I'm looking for 3739 Prospect Street. He said, good day. He said, I have nothing. He goes, we have nothing to talk to you about. And he hangs up. So we're like, called up Colleen again. I said, can you help us out? So years went by, and all this he knows that we have the power. He goes, we're sci-fi, we're Discovery, we're Animal Planet. They'll talk to us. And every time they called them, they said, we have nothing to talk about. Well, I got to talk to the guy, the gangster that lived there. His son was still alive in his 90s. Find out when he died, he was one of the guys that was volunteering. How coincidental, he was volunteering at the Enfield Historical Society. He was the one suppressing the information. To this day, they don't want us to know the real history of the house. So that's a little bit of trivia. So we go back and forth. So some people think there's something that the town does not want us to know what happened to them in this house. But with that being said, I'm waiting for Gil to come back out. This is how it all started way back in time when Henry Graham Thompson had sold a house in 1846. And then we found out Henry Graham, his father, was the founder of the town, and that was his son. So here's the front of the house. I mean, the door's open, guys. It still needs a lot of work, but we did the inside first. So these are the steps that Elka was coming down, and she got right about here, and she started stumbling. The car was right where my Jeep was over here. Did you just open that door? Yeah. It's about a smart dog.
Smart dog. He opened the door.
He's stealing the show now, the dog. Look at him.
Oh, he is.
Hi, buddy.
Come on. Let's go inside.
You got to go inside. You're better inside. You know it's not. Okay. He's like, come on, Jay. Let's go in the house. Come on.
Anything will happen.
Anything. Come on, guys. We got investigation. So these were the stairs that my wife almost fell down on, and luckily when she landed, she rolled on her arms, guys. So this is the famous staircase people hear about. But here's the other thing: as we're gonna go inside, as we go turn around. Hey, buddy, come on. What's his name? Bandit. Come on, Bandit. And he's like, no, there's other Dougies here. Come on, Bandit.
He's gone.
He's ready to go. Your number two's over there, I think.
Yeah. Oh, the neighborhood, no. He's like, I'm here. Come on. We gotta watch the cars, man. They don't stop.
She's just going to the bathroom.
No,
if Lynn saw that front room, she would lose her marbles.
Yeah.
All right,
She loves, well, we'll be starting all of that soon anyway. Christmas stuff. We're chasing the dog now. This is not what you expect when you do one of these shows.
No, it's not at all. So, Fernando, you got anything to say so far?
Yes. As you can see, it's this place is full of surprises. We got dogs peeing outside.
Inside, I mean, that's
At least it's not inside.
Yeah.
so we live on this side. I can't show you our side right now because my wife's over there, and then that's into the whole other realm. Doing some bad things. So as you walk into this side, guys, I'll close the door, and I'll show you from the beginning here. You want this screen? I mean, that's sweet. Still worry about cars. They don't. This people goes really weird sometimes. That's slam hardwood. Don't be afraid. I can take place the door. All right, so here we go. Ready? So this is the door to 39, and I left this up from Halloween because it's got a pretty good ring to it. I like that. I like that a lot. Door one. So as you come in, guys, the first thing you're gonna see is a staircase. This wall right here. This wall here. This house was actually built as a duplex. It was built as a big farmhouse, and it doesn't have at one point a lot of land. So what happened? Hang on 1 second. Come on, buddy. So at one time, we must have had a grand. You just, I heard something go off there. Somewhere.
Proximity sensor.
It's upstairs, right?
Here I'm going to explain all the.
Okay. So this staircase back in 1860s, there was a family out there by the Lydells. They were on a board of selectmen. They had a daughter named Marion Arnott. She had two daughters, Margaret and Elizabeth. And at separate times, when they came back to visit the house, and they lived down, some lived down the street, one I think lived in Hartford. They came back after their mom died in 1900. Each one of them, at different times, had fallen down these stairs. One of them, I got goosebumps. One of them, they said, on her death certificate. Now, there was another good thing about having people in the town hall, was they could, not only could they find out, but they could actually pull the death records of people that died in this town. Some of them we can't get a hold of because some of them, after they went on vacation, they died. But they said that one of them had fallen down these stairs, broke her arm and smashed her cranial and died at Hartford Hospital. The other one, they said, Colleen said she died on the spot. Now, these staircases have claimed many people's lives. Why they fell down the stairs, once or twice, maybe a coincidence, but 4 or 5 times, I don't know about coincidences after that.
I don't know. I don't know if it's just the camera, but from the angle that we are looking at it at the moment, some of those stairs almost have a blood-stained look about them. Now, I don't know if it's just the colouring, you know what I mean, but it does look it from the camera. It's very interesting. Sort of from the step below the camera. On the stair up to the top, they have a very blood-stained kind of look about them. That pinky faded blood look. Now, I don't know if, like, again, if it's just the angle or the camera, but the bottom 3 steps look fine. Or 4 steps.
That's what happens over this summertime. There was a gentleman who came up. He I'm not going to mention any names because of privacy, but he runs a very large event company, and he came over and he was sitting on the stairs, and he felt really strange and felt like something. So he started flashing a camera behind him, and what he captured was so terrifying, because the first time he captured, he thought it was a shadow of something going by, but it was something peeking around the corner. And then as he was flipping the cameras, I didn't get a copy of him, but something came down and got on by his back. And he thinks that it kind of, I don't want to say possessed him, but made him do really weird things in the house. He said, but this is the staircase that a lot of people have things happen on them. Sometimes when there's nobody home, investigators have literally heard people walking up and down the stairs.
Hang on. No, I just saw a shadow at the top of the stairs then.
You saw a shadow on top of the stairs?
Yeah.
I'll go first then.
Let's go.
Go ahead.
I don't know if it was a trick of the light, but I just saw a shadow at the top of the stairs.
That's crazy.
So I'm just going to introduce myself real quick. All right. My name is Gilbert. I am a part of Spooky Ventures Inc. And today we are going to be investigating the Enfield house. We're reaching out all the way from America so you guys can also see how special and what it is about this house that makes it so important for the paranormal community to get behind. So all of you watching, make sure you tune in later tonight as well so you can see how the investigation's conducted. All right, we're going to go upstairs now and just follow me.
But while he's walking up the stairs, what we will do, I will get him to give me the link, and I will share the link in the comments for this video when it goes live, so that you guys can then jump over and you can follow the rest of the investigation, which I believe is going for a couple of days. So I will take you back on. I'll let you back onto Gilts and continue the tour. Oh, I hate dolls.
Come on. This. Imagine coming down. You're in your nightgown. You start coming down the stairs, and then something shoves you or trips you. Imagine what your thoughts are as you go down the stairs, and it's like 1860s, 1870s, or even 1900s. Imagine what you're thinking as you're heading down. You know, you're not thinking this is your end. You know, and this is the hallway. It was divided up into two rooms. As you come in here, you can feel literally a heaviness. I don't know if you'll feel this. Oh yeah. And Fernando, I don't know if you can feel it a little bit. It's like a really heavy.
I've been feeling it all night.
First time I came here during the first investigation when you invited us up here. This was the first room you took us into.
Yep.
And immediately I started getting pains.
Yes.
Can you tell the audience a little bit about what that is?
Yes. There's something in this room that is really negative, and I think every person since the beginning that has come in this room has pretty much had to leave after a while. It messes with their head. Now, granted, like all old houses, the floor slants a little bit. Like the bed, sometimes they're on wheels, and sometimes they may move, guys. I'm just going to, at the same time I'm telling stories, I'm going to try to debunk things. Sometimes the bed might slide because it's on wheels, but what a bed can't do is, one of the investigators came in and the bed was literally over there picked up. And he said, he goes, how did this happen? He goes, he looked and he says, I could see the floor, and he put marbles and stuff, and he said, okay, if it moves, I can say it's a vibration, but he goes, there's no way you can get to that closet. And he was up here, and he goes, every time I take the cameras off, things happen. But so this is some of the things that you might pick up on, is that you got wheels here. But what happened in this room against this wall here, guys?
Can I interrupt just quickly, guys? Sorry. James, who is one of the viewers, he's just flicked back through the video, and he has confirmed that there was a shadow at the top. So if James can have a look and try and get us a timestamp on that, you can all go back and have a look later on. So we did see something up there.
Awesome.
You are not alone right now.
No,
Never alone in this place.
never alone. So, guys, on this wall here, I'm going to move the bed over, and I want to show you guys to get in the Fernando Church. Like I said, I love you guys. I love Australia, so you guys are my favorite. Right here was the doorway that went up to the attic. Now, this is where the priest came, and he met that thing. Now, also, this was the day where my brother was painting the door that looked just like that door over there. And he said, before he died, he asked me what black shadows were as he was painting this. Now imagine a guy, he's 6'2", ex-Marine. The guy was in from 1973, so they considered him a Vietnam veteran. He was around the world. He literally, as he painting that, he looked up and saw this black shadow coming down. Yeah. Now, as it came down, he stepped out of the side because he could not, logically, he could not explain. Now, at the time where the light was, I was redoing the ceiling, so I had it, because being in the trade fields, you do things that you normally wouldn't do in a house. You take a light, you hang it with this wire nuts, and then you got it going as you're painting. He said it came down, went from the top of the floor, and it was like black as night. He said, because I've seen it before. It comes down like this, and it goes into the wall, and then it dissipates. Yeah. When he said that, he goes, "Am I going crazy?" I said, "No," because what I didn't tell him is I saw the same thing. It was on a Saturday afternoon. Beautiful sunny day. We had no shades out here. No, it was a beautiful sunny day. My sister Shirley was still alive. This is in 2008. I'm working on the closet door here because if you can see, some of the hardware, guys, is original latches from the old days.
Oh, wow.
And you can tell that they didn't have this in 1900. They didn't have this in 1881. This would be something you would see in the like the 1700s or even
18, like 17.
So yeah, like the 1700s. It would be old thumbnail latches. Yep. And the way it operated, it was all here, and you can see all the tungsten and mortar. So this belly is a lot of things. Well, as I'm working on here, some of the hinges on here were broke. They were original hinges. So I'm kneeling down here, and as I'm working on it, I had that really weird feeling, and the same feeling kept me alive in the military. Said, "Jay, turn around slowly." And as I did, I put my toes down. I looked, I was on my knees, I looked, and I saw this black shadow from the ceiling here. It was as black as night. I will never forget that. And it just came down and went straight into the wall. At that point, I dropped, I put my tools down, I stood up, and I was really shaking because I'm thinking to myself, I'm working, I got babies, I got all that, I got to take a break. I went next door, and my sister, she didn't know what happened. But, like we said, we have a little sense of humor. My sister said, "Your face is white." She goes, "Looks like you just saw a ghost." I said, "You were not going to believe what I just saw." So this room here is like ground zero. We believe out of all the people, we don't know any renters that lived in here. There could be hundreds of renters that lived over here. But what we do know is Marion Arnold. Now, can you imagine this? This was her family's home since the 1850s. Her mother died in this house. Her father died in this house. In 1865, her mother, we could never find her name because they must have been a very wealthy aristocratic family. They always refer to her as Mrs. William Lydell. And I looked everywhere and I could never find her name. We found their gravestone. And on that gravestone, there are some really big names. Her name was Elizabeth, now I'm getting chills, Elizabeth Lockheed. Ooh, Lydell. Now, Lockheed's you guys know that's a very big name, especially in the aerospace and aircraft industry with Lockheed Martin. So I guess what happened in 1865, imagine as she could be probably sitting here to this day, right? She passes away. Now, Mr. Lydell, he's an executive, but he's also on the board of selectmen of the town. He loses his wife. He's got still his kids are adults and things like that. But again, the threes come into play. You might.
What is
really?
It? What is it? What is it? But what are you seeing?
He's like, you will check it out, Dad.
Yeah,
he's picking up on something.
He's excited.
Oh, did you see the way
Yeah.
So we even got the Boo Bear going off in the doll room.
So I'm not hallucinating.
We might actually have to jump to some of the investigation stuff soon because we'll be running out of time because it's after 11 o'clock over here now.
All right, so I just want to up real quick. In a minute, I'm going to go over all the equipment that's laid out here, everything that we're Sorry about getting the light in your guys' eyes. Didn't mean to do that. When you had the priest come here, the first time I was here, the story that you told me, what did the priest do when he looked up into that attic?
Well, when he came in, guys, he, like I said, I'll try to recreate this the best I can. Remember, there was no beds here, guys. This was a vacant door. The door, what I thought was funny was the door was a door like we saw over there. Man, I don't like this. I don't never say that. You guys know me well. I never say because everything seems like we're being like on the fight on. Yeah.
Yep.
The door was here, but what was weird is it had a thumb last like what you saw there. But then, I mean, what went to my mind because one of my jobs, I don't really talk about it, but I'll just say I was some type of like in law enforcement, a little bit in the military for a couple of years. Oh, what happened was there was a last. Like you would put on a shed, not a small one, but a big, thick one, about 2.5 inches. And that a padlock was on there. Underneath there was another padlock, and it had a deadbolt.
Something's
and
happening.
I thought,
so we're getting temperature changes on the REM pod.
Changes, and I thought, what in the heck are they trying to keep either in there or out? So when the priest came. He opened the door because he stood here and it was all vacant. He goes, CJ, there's nothing here. I said, but Father, you got to go in the attic. He walks in the attic. He takes 3 steps up. And I look behind him. So I'm like, I want to say, Father, what are you, a chicken? Go ahead, right? But he stopped. He had his foot like this, and he had his holy water in his hand. On one hand, he had it down, and he's staring at the top of the stairs. Now, I think, I can't speak for him, but if I was him, I'd be thinking to myself, you know what? I just told his family there's no such thing as ghosts or demons.
Yeah.
But whatever he saw, I don't think it was a ghost, but I think whatever he saw was some kind of hideous thing because he wanted to take one more step and then he stopped. Yeah. Now, what he did is, imagine this, he backs down the stairs, right? Yeah. Now, I would have turned around. It would have been more convenient to turn around. Not him. He backs down. He gets like this. He turns his back. He backs down. He gets outside here. He was terrified. He took the door. He slammed it shut. Bam, bam, bam. Locked everything. And I'm like, what the heck? He locked everything. Then he ran. Boom. And you're da-da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, Father, where are you going? I'm like trying to keep up with him. Yeah. And he's got one foot on the door out there where the screen door is. And he turned around. He says, ignore it. It will go away. And that was it. He ran down the street. Yeah. Whatever he saw, it wasn't like, oh yeah, there was a spirit. I'm gonna spray holy water. And whatever it was, he knew what he had in his arsenal, his cross, his holy water was not going to save him. Not going to
do the job. Yeah.
Took off, and he never came back.
So this room up here, like some people refer to it as Elizabeth's room, correct?
Elizabeth's room, other names. Okay. Yeah.
So in this room, we're doing things real light so you guys can see the activity that happens in here. We have a cat ball on each bed, and we have a REM pod set up in here. Now, people have been known to see apparitions in this chair of a woman sewing, not paying any mind anything else other than sewing in early 1800s attire. So this room can get absolutely intense. And with that, I would like to bring this to the most unnerving room in this house, at least for me. And if you guys have any challenges you want us to do, please drop it in the comments. Gary will get it to us, and we'll make this happen.
Definitely.
So, just quickly, James had a pretty good question there. I know I'm butting in.
Yep.
Happened to me in this room. I have friends that got wiped out in this room. So we're going to go over here in the hallway.
So James said, does this Enfield house have any connection to Enfield in the UK?
Does this
No. The Enfield in the UK is actually spelled with an I, and it's a city in Enfield, Connecticut. Enfield, UK. And that's where the Contact 2 story derives from. This is the Demon House in Enfield, Connecticut, USA.
Also known as 1771 Enfield House.
Yep. And also look out for the hashtag Project Resurrection. We'll fill you in on more soon to come.
So now this room here, guys, I'm also going to be, I'm going to also debunk some things, guys, because I think it's also good to know.
So, okay, so right here is this is the Boo Buddy. If you guys want this, it is a great trigger object for, yeah. Okay. This is a great trigger object for anything that has to do with younger spirits or spirits that like. All right, I'm just going to put you down. I'm just going to do that. So this thing has been talking since 3 a.m. last night. Wow. Fernando, what's going on?
Can I ask a question quick? Oh, we've got a question from the chat. Kathy is asking, is the attic still there but closed off?
It is, and that's what I'm going to get to. So how it is, like I said, I like to debunk things too. So from the wall here, over about 8 feet, is an old crawl space. It's filled with junk. It's filled with insulation, everything. The wall starts probably like right around here in the other room. Now, what it is, it's a finished room. What it is when my kids were getting older, I had built 2 beautiful bedrooms upstairs. One of them on the other side has thick commercial carpet and padding, so when she walks, you can't hear her. But the room up here, I left it because they screwed down thick, heavy plywood. It's painted gray, and it's no longer my daughter's room because my daughter could not sleep up there. My daughter, she refused to ever go back up there. She actually was sleeping on a couch. I had to take my wife's arts and crafts room, where she makes really like elaborate gnomes, and literally stripped that room apart. That was her old room next door. It was a small room like this. I don't know why. But anyway, long story short, I turned it into my wife's arts and crafts room. Now, nobody goes up there except when she's about to do a craft fair.
Yeah.
She does that, but when there's a paranormal investigation, she does not go up there because she doesn't want people saying the noises that she's hearing is coming from the attic. Now, there was a chinchilla in there in a cage. And this is kind of funny, guys, because you guys may hear this, but I think it's really hilarious because the guy who told me, he happened to be a highly respected person in the paranormal field. And on the phone, he said to me, point blank in my face, he said, "Is that true? You have wild attack rabbits running in your floorboards, chewing communication wires." I looked at him. I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I know now I don't need psychological help, but somebody does. Somebody danger. So I was like, oh my God. So then I was like, then he said, the next question he said is that, now this is funny stuff, guys. I want to debunk this because you guys see me right now, right? If I put my finger at Gil, I can't levitate him. I can't make lightning bolts come on my finger.
You are not a magician.
I'm not a magician. One of the persons said, the reason why there's so much activity is because Jay is like Merlin. Jay can make paranormal happen because he's a wizard.
Now, if I can touch on that, absolutely. So there's been a few things that, we are going to get to the bottom of and lay to rest. That is the point of this investigation, is to show the world that this is haunted. Now, anything that's happened in the past, any accusations, any things of that nature, we're moving past that. We're rising above it. And we are going to band together to show the paranormal community what unity can actually accomplish.
Amen to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Gary, you're all about it. And I love that you're all about it. That's why we clicked when we spoke. And, I just want to make it very, very clear right now. All right. I have spent hours in this location. Hours. Unequivocally, without a shadow of a doubt, this location is haunted. And if any of you want to come check this place out on your own, I'm going to have a link in my live later where you can just send an email and we'll get you in here. Absolutely. We would love to have anybody who wants to come and do a proper investigation, conduct a clean investigation. These doors are open. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7
and they're open, and you guys can contact Gil ourselves. And Gary, like I was going to say, you know, you said you have a sense of humor. I have a sense of humor. I'm going to break it up, and then we're going to get back into deep paranormal. We had this. I still laugh because I don't. It was going to be something really funny. So what happened was we had somebody who was investigating. Her husband went inside the closet and he had a listening device. And the next day, he said, when we were talking that night when we came over, he said, I was in that little closet. I heard what sounded like somebody had a TV upstairs or something. Yeah. But he sounded like somebody was moaning, like they were in pain. He goes, have you ever heard anything? He goes, the other side of the closet, he said, is your house correct? I said, no. The funny thing, Gary, is you're going to laugh maybe, but he said he was hearing moaning and somebody was in pain. Well, I didn't want to tell him anything bad because I started laughing, and I changed the subject because on the other side of the wall happens to be the bathroom. And so the moaning he was hearing was somebody going to the bathroom. I didn't want to tell him that, but I thought it was kind of comical later on.
I mean, you know,
but it was something that, you know, to lighten things up a little bit, to show how people, they can easily misunderstand.
Oh, absolutely. You know,
we've got another quick question from the chat, and this is in reference to the dolls behind you. Have there been any paranormal activity centered around the dolls?
Yes, Gary. That's a good.
I don't want to touch her.
Yeah. So here's something. We're gonna get back into deep paranormal.
Watch out for the.
I see that. Yeah. So what had gotten this doll? My wife, like I said, she's from Frankfurt, Germany, and
it's already creepy.
My wife's sister's name is Heidi, and when we have her, guys, I don't think she's supposed to be haunted. We got her because she looks really old and creepy, and she has a hole in her chest now. Whoa. So we had standing.
People think ventriloquist.
I know. My name's Heidi. Would you like to play?
No.
Hey, Gary, I wonder where the ley lines are with this building.
I don't know. It'd be interesting to find out.
And Heidi, we have a room. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. The dog likes it.
And the next day after the investigations, guys, I came over with my other daughter to vacuum, and I would find Heidi. I'll show you guys. I would find Heidi standing right. Oh, look up, buddy. Right over here by the doorway, just like this.
So the doll moves by itself.
Oh, maybe somebody moved it. So I picked her up, I put her back in the corner. The next day, me and my wife came over to check out the house. We had put the doll back. Heidi's back here.
It's all right. We've got my stepdaughter Heidi in the chat as well now, and she's not sure what to make of all of this.
Yeah. Heidi, at this point, you know what? Somebody wants to have Heidi looking down the hallway. So we left her. We're like, okay, you know, it's a doll. So when we had a big team here, and there was a paranormal group, really great guys, two brothers extreme, and what's that? Yeah, okay, yeah, my paper. So we had it in here, and the funny thing was, all of a sudden, I thought he was playing a joke on me because I don't believe dolls can be haunted or things like that, but you never know.
Yeah.
So as I'm standing there, and I'm showing him around each object and everything. Now, Mike's a big guy, and all of a sudden, he yells, he goes, dude, the doll's moving. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever, right? I'm laughing.
Yeah.
And he goes, dude, it's going for your leg. I'm like, yeah, okay. So now I figured I'm gonna get on the humor, right?
Yeah.
Because we always play on. I looked down, I don't know what made her do that, but she's literally switching, trying to go for the back of my leg. Now this guy ran down the stairs yelling, your husband, the doll's gonna eat your husband. I was like, what? So it was funny. So the dolls, something manipulates the dolls, the spirits in that room. So as that happens, this room here, guys, as we're gonna work our way down, this is the bathroom. when I was doing all the plumbing in here, I was almost killed twice.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that.
Yeah. And now this is when I say paranormal, it can hurt you right where you're standing. I was running the piping, redoing it, and I had a heavy-duty commercial drill. And all of a sudden, it gets stuck on automatic, and it starts coming up at me. I pushed it down, the drill. I said, "Well, how stupid I am!" I said, "My finger must have hit the button to leave it on automatic."
Yeah.
And I had a spade bit about this wide so I could bore through the things.
Jesus.
And I heard something laughing in the room here. So I tell this thing to go buzz off.
Something else
This
is
is
happening.
early now.
Was that was that a
really-
Mel meter going off then?
Yeah, that was a REM pod going
A
off.
REM pod. I do have another question from the chat from Kath. She has asked, are you wanting to release the entity/energy associated with the house and your family and those who have passed, or are you wanting to leave the house?
Well, we tried to release them. Like I said, we had some of the biggest paranormal people come here. We had professional witches try to sage the house.
Yeah.
We had rabbis come in here because we didn't know if it was something to do with the Jewish set, with
the Judaism, and it dates all the way back to actually King Solomon.
Yeah.
Crazy coincidences that keep happening. What I like to call the spiderweb effect is, while we're here, the first time we're here, over the Ovilus, over Spirit Talker. Now I know Spirit Talker is for entertainment purposes, but I use it to debunk other items as well. It helps and it does work, and I'll get into that later on. But we were getting a lot of things like Jupiter, number 3, the number 11, and you always speak about 11 happening at 22. Now I happen to be born on 222, and I see 222 all the time, so it's just fitting that you mentioned 22 here.
Yeah, and that came up earlier today as well, that very same number.
We're actually on the phone on the way up here, Gary. Yeah, 222. Yep, that's it. You asked how long it was going to take me to get there, and I looked at my GPS. Lo and behold, 222. But my point being is that we did a deep dive into, let's just say, the occult and demonic entities that were known throughout the King Solomon's era.
Yep.
And one of these entities, and get this, right? One of these entities is known to stop or kill babies in the womb.
Ooh.
How many people were born here?
That's another thing we discovered, Gary. Not one single baby in this house in over 250 years has ever been conceived.
Wow.
Everyone that moved in here was either a little bit older or teenagers. Even us, when we moved in here, we had twin girls, 7 months. Elka was pregnant, and they tried stopping them. Now, we've talked to one of the family members that survived from, there was a family member, I can get this later on if you guys want, from 1960s to 2001. He lost his whole entire family in his house.
Yeah.
The granddaughter, actually, when his only surviving son met us, the granddaughter said, we never thought it was a ghost to sign up. She goes, we thought we had bad luck like the Kennedys. She goes, we had, everybody died in our family. We were sick. She goes, I was told by the doctor when I was living in my grandfather's house here, I could never get pregnant. She said, you can never have any babies, no nothing. And she took it as, well, I'm going to be a childless mother. But when she got married and when the house was getting sold, they moved far away from here and they bought a house. And right as soon as they moved, that year she got pregnant and she had 3 children.
That's really interesting, because what you usually any other house, what you're going to get is there's going to be a balance between conception and babies born and people passing away. But what you've got here is completely one-sided. They are taking life. They are not giving life. Now, there's another comment in the chat, which is the feeling they are getting is that there's a lot more you haven't been told yet by the authorities about your house, which is
no. They well, I contacted the local PD, the local police department, and I wanted to have records and they said we don't have records that far because, like I said, there was a local famous gangster that we uncovered that lived here, and we thought he had just committed murders and suicide. But like I said outside, I was able to talk to his son, who was in his 90s, and he filled me in with all kinds of information that what it ended up leading into was like a love triangle, and we found out, we believe he must have been set up by his so-called wife, and that's a story.
Just quickly, whereabouts is the dog at the moment? Because I saw shadows behind you again then, and I'm not sure if it's it's not the dog.
No, it's definitely not the dog.
Towards where the staircase is, I just saw shadows again.
Yeah, so at this point in time, all right, and I'm sorry if I'm a little close up to you guys. I've been talking, I did an introduction. Again, my name's Gilbert, all right, I'm the founder of Spooky Ventures, Inc. Right now, I'm going to get behind the lens, which is my favorite place to be, as you can tell. And I'm going to let my partner, lead investigator, introduce himself.
Sounds good.
Yes. So I'm sure you guys already know me up in the chat room. I'm Fernando, Strangers Mindz, and we're in the Enfield house. It's been pretty interesting, to say the least. So, do you guys want to see the rest of the house?
Yes.
Because there's a whole living room, kitchen. So let's go ahead and go down.
All right.
Sounds
and boy,
good.
do we have a story for you guys.
I'm interested. I'm all ears.
I don't think Bandit's moving.
Oh, no, man, that's good. Oh, yeah, hey, Bandicoot, what's going on? Come on, let's go. And later tonight, Bandicoot will have a GoPro on himself. And you guys it's called the Bandit Cam. And I'll be dropping that. And also, we have an Envoy box right here. And what that piece of equipment does is it can either spell words by using an alphabetic dictionary, obviously, because that's how you spell is the alphabet, letters. It also has other modes like emojis, feelings, things like that. We have an SLS camera. I mean, it's not a legit one, but it's an iPad, so it's good enough. Proximity sensor, Ovilus. These are just some things we left running overnight, but I'm going to now close my mouth because I could run it forever. And I'm gonna let these guys, tell the story.
Yeah, so do you guys have any questions for us regarding the living room?
Keep going. Come on.
Why don't you tell us about what happened in this living room?
Oh, no, for sure. So our first night that we were here, we started conducting a Estes session here. And we actually had a third member with us that ended up having some issues, to say the least, afterwards.
You can let them know. Let them know what happened here.
Well, let's just set up how everything was going. So the gentleman was sitting here.
Oh, there's a creepy doll on the chair.
Oh, yeah, and it moves. It moves, Gary. I hate this doll. I hate this doll.
Oh, don't bring it up to the bloody camera.
Christy is going to lose her absolute mind over this. I think she's got one that looks similar.
Christy, who's in the chat, is going to be saying, I want that for my collection, because she's got a collection of haunted dolls.
When Fernando gets here, we're getting him over there.
Actually, while Jay's gone for a second, real quickly. So the Enfield house also, I'm sorry, I turned out the lights. Can you turn on a light real quick? Is any light? All right, yeah, that's fine. So the Enfield house owners make these wonderful haunted dolls. Okay.
Okay. Well, before you go any further, I know for a fact. Oh shit!
There we go. Yes.
I know for a fact that there will be people in this chat room who will be wanting to purchase those. So can you please get us the details so we can add them into the description for the video, so they might get a few sales from that.
I might buy one for Lynn for Christmas.
Oh hell no!
Haunted doll from the Enfield house. Jay's wife Elka is a wonderful woman, beautiful person. You guys are going to love the stuff she's bringing out. It's dolls, haunted knickknacks, you name it, she makes it. And I will be dropping all the information in my link later tonight during my
Awesome.
live.
Fantastic.
But back to what we were saying.
So during the Estes session, we had an investigator sitting right here, and he was basically saying things on the lines of selling his soul.
Can you guys get a little tighter? A little tighter around the chair? Thank you.
He was saying things that about selling his soul or like buying his soul or on that.
It was messed up.
Yeah.
And we'll drop the clip. We weren't going to, but we'll drop the clip.
Yeah, and during the Estes session, we eliminate hearing and sight. So while he had his eyes banded, he was seeing white eyes. He said
glowing eyes, glowing white eyes.
So we actually had to take him out because he was crying. He started crying here. And unfortunately, about 2 days later, he was talking about unliving himself. And we had to let him go. We had to send him home. He went back home. And we kind of haven't heard from him since after that, unfortunately.
And maybe our prayers be with him.
Yeah, definitely.
He's got an uphill battle right now.
Well, I can tell you guys right now that we do need the details for those dolls, because I do believe there will be at least one or two purchases happening from the chat room.
Yeah.
And it would be good to help you guys out and also add to the collection over here, which I will not be going over to visit that house once one of those goes in there based.
So for right now, if anybody interested in the dolls, send an email to spookyventuresinc@gmail.com. It's my handle, just at gmail.com. And I will send you pictures of different dolls with prices, and we can go from there.
Sounds good, mate.
The ovulus said, okay.
There.
The ovulus just said, okay, right after you guys finish.
When you said it was done,
Is this frozen?
No, frozen? You're still going. You're still going. I saw that. It says, okay, is that living and recent or something like that?
Yeah, so last night when we set up, actually, we recorded everything. And what I like to do in all my investigations, if I can, is I like to put out the equipment and just let whatever we're communicating with know that, hey, listen, this stuff isn't going to hurt you. It's not going to harm you. And I'm not going to press you. I'm going to leave this stuff here. You can get acclimated with it. And, when I come back, if you want to communicate, then we're going to have a blast. If not, oh well.
Well, you can tell them they've got an audience from all over the world at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Hey. So, any questions as far as the living room is concerned?
I will tell you one thing. When you guys brought this chair out, we had brought this to the park. The reason why, if you go on, we had a really awesome guy who came out who had some really bad things here. He wanted to come back out to find out what was messing with him in his life so bad. The gentleman was a Baptist minister. He was also a Israeli. He travels back and forth to Israel. Well, he had brought in every equipment like you guys had because he wanted to find out what was coming after him.
Yeah.
In this chair, sitting there, they did thing what you guys talking about. I don't know this with the SLR with stick figures.
Yeah. That's that right there.
Whole body sitting in this chair. So he sent one of his investigators over. He goes, "Can you touch my investigator?" And it looked like the lady or whoever was sitting there had her legs crossed, hanging out, facing this way.
Yeah.
So as he went over there, it went out and touched his hand like this. So he's looking, and as they're talking to the thing and they get responses, he says, "What a inside
okay,
there.
We're back.
You want the doll." Now, as he goes to bring the doll to it, you could see it look at uncross its legs and was trying to kick the doll away from it. It wanted all the attention on the chair. So this chair, something likes to sit on this chair. We don't know what it is, but you know what, guys? As big as I am, even to this day, and you guys know, when Elko comes over, I sit in that chair and nobody gets me in this chair.
No, you will not. You will not. Nope. And a funny something to just touch on. You guys see how I have some equipment set up on that banister?
Yep.
Okay, so when this incident happened during our last investigation here with the Estes method, I had several pieces up there. And we did an Estes method at the witching hour, 3 a.m. But the odd part is during the whole entire investigation, we were getting activity, but we weren't getting anything aggressive. At around 2:50 a.m., we start getting all sorts of just different warnings coming off the Ovilus, coming off the Phasma box right here, which is a photonic, coming off of Spirit Talker and a whole bunch of other equipment that just, it didn't make sense. So we were getting leave me alone, leave now, I don't want to talk anymore, and like things like sentences. When 3 a.m. hit, we get Lucifer on the Ovilus, Evil on the Spirit Talker, and that's when, unfortunately, one of our investigators
around us. Do you feel the same thing?
Oh yeah, something is all over the place.
I feel like something is observing us.
Yeah.
I keep looking because last night, I remember when we were talking.
Yeah, absolutely. So, there's something here. But as I was saying, when that had happened and 3 a.m. rolled by, 3:05 rolled by, all right, why don't you show the audience what you're looking at, brother? Show the audience what you're looking at. Oh.
So it seemed like I even asked Jay, like, if he's feeling nervous, because I see him moving around, and
something said calm.
Yeah, the Ovilus said calm.
Oh, look at it, ponds. Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
Eerie.
So she's a talker. She's a talker, and guys, so you can hear this on this live. All right, when we hit 5,000 followers, we're giving an Ovilus away, but we'll get down to that later. 3:05 rolls by, and we're getting demonic and evil messages. Abort. Yeah, it's telling us it doesn't want this out. Gonna pound. So about 3 a.m., after 3:30 maybe, we have to wrap up the Estes session. Obviously, we took turns, and unfortunately, what had happened, it just goes to show you that when you're in this field, when you're doing this work, it's just as dangerous as you can make your imagination let it be.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Now, for everybody,
not for everybody.
No, it's not. Everybody who's watching this and they hear about the Estes and stuff like that, if you don't know what that is, it is very similar to the Gansfeld experiment. Now, Gil and I are actually in the process of working out something very special, a sort of a combination of several different things, which we are going to stay a little bit quiet on at the moment until we fully nut it all out. But we have a few new tests that we want to start bringing out. Isn't that right, mate?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. This is a collaboration between Gary and myself, and also both of our teams are involved in this. We're going to try and bring you guys something that's never been done before, and we're going to keep raising the bar. Every single live we have. However we can do it, we're going to do it. And we hope all of you come for the ride. We really do. Any support, any love, that's all we're trying to emanate. That's all we're trying to put out. So, if you guys have any questions, any concerns, if you guys saw anything, please let us know. And if you're interested, I'm giving away a music box and a spirit box over the weekend. To enter, all you have to do is like and follow Spooky Ventures Inc. on Facebook and TikTok, and drop a comment during the live. And then on Monday, we'll announce the winner.
That's right. So any of you guys that have been commenting tonight, you will be in the running, as I mentioned before with the giveaway. You will be in the running for these two items. So if you've said hello, you're in the run. You're in the run.
And I just want to make one thing, guys. It's safe. No one has ever been harmed coming here. Nobody's really ever taken any home. So when people come investigate, we've never lost anybody or anything. I mean, it might threaten us. What we were just, I looking around there as we were doing is, I don't know if this entity likes to lie, whatever, but I don't know if you guys can go back on it or whatever. But
I can
I
get the
don't
whole.
know if you guys heard it or not, but that's what it sounded like something. It said, "Curse," and it said, "Die." I didn't know
Really?
who that Chris would be, because I know a couple of
Oh
Chris's.
my gosh! No. We're gonna stop that right there, and I'm gonna explain this to you off live, actually. So you know a little
Does that
bit.
make any sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, actually. It makes perfect sense. So you know what? This is gonna get out anyways. This is gonna get out one day. So why not? Whatever. You need to be an open book when you're doing this. So I was fortunate enough to be adopted by a very loving family, but on my original birth certificate, my name was Christopher.
No,
Swear to God.
I had no idea, and that's why I said. That's why I went around the corner, because I heard something saying, "Chris."
Yep.
Oh wow,
I didn't
that's
know. I
that's
think
nice.
other Chris's out there.
Well, you know, whatever other Chris's are out there, they're not our issue. They're not, you know.
No, and I just, because there's been so many people, so you don't know what they're talking about. That's why I don't listen to these entities, because you don't know. I mean, it could be somebody from 1800. We don't know, but I never knew that about you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, it's not something I really share, but
Yeah.
I figure everything's gonna be out there. So why not?
Well, they're just messing with you. They don't. They like to get in your head, and that's one of the things that they do with certain people. They get in your head.
Oh, that's totally fine.
Well,
I got into this knowing damn well what I was getting into. For the last 6 months, I've been traveling all over the country, searching for answers within the paranormal, and I found some, and it's brought me some closure. It really has. And one day I'll tell my story, but right now, only my friends know it, and they're the only ones who are gonna know it. But yeah. So
anyway, guys, we are going to have to wind this up in the next 5 to 10 minutes. So I think if you want to start surmising what you've got now, and then what we will do is we will share all the links to your live investigation over the rest of the weekend, and people can join in and comment through your links. And yeah, so
Yep.
If you guys want to start winding ready.
Wings. Oh man.
last night, let's talk about what we had for supper.
Oh yeah. Or angel wings.
Yeah.
So we overnighted this just for you guys, just for this investigation. This is a tripwire. It's basically an EMF sensor. That's a bunch of lights attached to a string, and when it goes off, the lights turn different colors when there's EMF. So if there's a trail of EMF, or if there's a pattern, we can follow it with this, and we'll have this set up during our live. I just wanted to let you guys know we're taking all the stops out for you. We're doing everything we can. And you guys over at Shadow Files, Gary, this would have been able to happen without you.
Oh, mate, it's all a collaboration. You know that.
I think you guys are safe because it says you're purified in wings, so it could be. So there's somebody who also watch out for you.
Oh, yeah.
Window. Oh man, window purified in the wings. So
God, that dog's creepy.
I hope you guys enjoyed the tour.
yeah, any questions? There's so much more. You haven't even tipped the iceberg yet. We have so many more. So whatever you guys want to do, we forgot about the Bible that we shredded too.
Yeah. Oh, we'll touch base on all that.
Yeah.
We'll touch base on all that. But hey, Fernando, where are you?
I know here.
But Jay, I wanted to shake your hand and thank you for giving us this opportunity
You were so
and
welcome.
opening
guys.
your home to us and spending your time to share with the audience what we're getting into, because we're laying to rest a lot of things, and I cannot wait for nightfall, because that's when it's going to go down.
Yep.
And,
Jay,
if you have a question, feel free to reach out, because like I said, what we just topped was maybe not even 1% of. I mean, so
Not
I got
even.
some
Not
scary
even.
stories that would make people, they wouldn't even sleep here. We, like I said, we've had some of the biggest names out.
Oh
Really
yeah.
got terrified,
Oh yeah.
and But like I said, we tried 3 times to move out and stomped us.
Well, you know what? Our goal later on is to make this entire property a paranormal research and development center. And that is just one of the things that's on the horizon. And you guys will be able to book through a website very, very soon. And I cannot wait for what's to come. I cannot wait for what's to come.
I. Now, Jay, I would just like to say a very big thank you from Jeremy, myself, and everybody in the chat. They are all saying thank you, and they've loved everything, and it's been an awesome show. You're an absolute gentleman, and I can't wait until we can get over there and meet you in person and check this place out for ourselves. And I would just like to thank you for sharing your house with us this evening.
Thank you very much.
You're guys, and like I said, you get over to the States, you just give me a call and we'll open the doors for you, and we'll tell you a lot more stories and have you over.
That sounds absolutely sensational. Now to Gil and to Fernando, you know we love you guys. You guys are part of the family and part of our paranormal collective, and that's what it's all about. It's all about everybody sharing everything and working together. And apparently something's coming up on the Ovilus or something, I'm assuming.
Yeah, nothing noteworthy.
Okay. But
it will be.
Yeah, thank you for bringing us along, and I would like to get you guys to share the links for your ongoing investigation, and for everybody who's in the chat, follow along with them and click like and everything, because you were all in the running for these giveaways, and it's all about sharing the love. So, you know, thank you, everything, guys.
Thank you.
No problem. Have a good night.
And it was a pleasure doing this. I'm so happy that we got to meet you.
Oh, look, I'm pretty sure we can arrange to get out there again with you guys and do it all over again, and we can take it to the next level.
I think we might need to take a month off to go there, though.
Yeah.
We have to go over there first.
Well, you let us know when it's happening, and we'll set up maybe Albany or something like that. There's a lot of good places.
If you want to throw Jay in a suitcase and bring him with you, by all means, he is welcome.
I was going to say, I go to Australia. If somehow, some way, a kangaroo shows up my door overnighted, I will not return them.
That may be able to be organized.
All right, guys. I think it's time for us to.
Black eye.
What was that? Yeah, I think it's time for us to sign off now and let you guys set up for. Well, get a bit of rest from last night, and then set up for the rest of the investigation.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And we will be sending you all the links over the next few hours. We're just ironing out some kinks, and we're gonna give you guys everything you absolutely need. So this way you can like, follow, and share.
It's not a true paranormal investigation if there aren't kinks to be ironed out.
No, there is. It's not.
Make sure your batteries are all charged up and ready to go, and you got spares.
All right. It's time for us to go now. So keep it spooky, and we will be in touch soon. Take it easy, guys.
Nice.